This series contains themes of violence against women and child abuse. Listener discretion is advised. More than 40 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared from the beachside suburbs of southern Sydney. Elaine Johnson was 16, Kerry Ann Joel was 17. Gone without a trace. Never to be heard from again. For more than 4 decades, Elaine's family have searched in vain for answers. This is their story.
There's a hole in my heart the size of an island. Islands can be big and small. My love for you will never go away.
There was every chance this moment would come. It was Sunday afternoon of the June long weekend last year when a message flashed up on my phone. It was from Elaine's sister Helen. Over the past 2 years, Helen and I have formed the habit of texting and calling each other at all hours of the day. So it wasn't unusual to see her name pop up. But the message itself, that I wasn't expecting. Hi Kate, apologies after all your work, but we can't go ahead with the podcast due to a massive new intel which cannot be disclosed as yet, due to the safety of the informant. We don't want anything hindering the investigation and will let you know if or when we can go forward. Please note going ahead will interfere with any legal inquiries. Hope you understand. We also cannot talk about this at the moment. I immediately phoned my co-producer Sally, and we both had the same reaction. We hoped this new development would finally lead to answers for Elaine's family. We agreed that, obviously, respecting the family's wishes was the only way to proceed. All the work on the project stopped. I let Helen know and sent her my best. 2 days later, she called. Because of the sensitive nature of the information Helen disclosed, and because the podcast was on pause, I chose not to record these conversations. But here is what I can share. The evening before Helen contacted me, she was sent a stream of text messages from a stranger. The messages were about Elaine and Kerry. Running a public campaign to find Elaine, Helen gets messages like these sometimes. It's not new. But these ones immediately stood out. The details lined up with intel Helen and her family had gathered over the years. The informant declined to speak on the record for this podcast, so to protect his identity, we'll call him Roger. Roger told Helen he was reaching out after hearing about Elaine and Kerry from a friend. We'll call this friend Brian. Roger didn't know Elaine and Kerry. The first he'd heard of them was from Brian, decades after they went missing. But Brian did know the girls. Roger said Brian talked about them every time he visited. During one visit, Brian even identified the girls as Elaine and Kerry from their missing persons posters. Roger remembers Brian tapping Kerry's photo and saying, quote, "That's the ones we're talking about," end quote. For those wondering why Brian didn't contact Helen himself, it's because he no longer can. He died several years ago. Roger claims before Brian's death, he said the girls had been taken to a property in the Southern Tablelands where something had happened to them. It was his dying wish for Roger to tell Helen.
Well, the first thing that we clicked to was that everything he was saying fitted known intel.
Joe, Helen's husband, believed Roger.
So we weren't suspicious of what he was telling us at all because everything fitted what we already suspected. So, and just that straight away is a big flag saying this sounds credible, this intelligence, so that really needs to be looked into.
One big piece of information Roger shared with Helen was the location of the property. All I can say about it is it has links to people who knew Elaine and Kerry, and that the current owner has no known links to the girls or their disappearance. Roger also told Helen he'd heard stories of 2 girls being taken to the property. One girl was underage and pregnant, and the other was slightly older. Roger had been told the girls had later vanished. Roger has visited the property. It was many years after the girls disappeared. There is no suggestion Roger was involved in Elaine and Kerry going missing. During one visit, he noticed a caravan on the grounds and took a peek inside and saw what he describes as baby shower things, unopened nappies and new baby clothes under a thick layer of undisturbed dust. To him, it looked like the place had been abandoned for many years. Roger also told Helen during his visit he would go for walks. During one walk, he found 2 fallen trees close to each other. At the base of both trees was a patch of disturbed earth. Roger described each as the size of a grave. He also uncovered a weapon.
There's a thread which can be traced all the way back from the time that, or even before they went missing, to how they've ended up at this property, and that should be looked into.
Here's Joe again.
He's given us information which the police should act on now.
Over the next 6 months, while my investigation was on hold, Helen worked to independently verify what Roger had told her as best she could. She and Joe also met with him. During that meeting, Roger gave Helen the weapon, which hasn't been tested for DNA yet. When they visited him a second time, they brought me along. The purpose of this meeting was so Roger could pinpoint on maps and in aerial photos the location of the caravan and where he saw the grave-like sites. Helen, Joe and I met up at a rest stop to touch base before meeting with Roger. As my podcast investigation was still officially paused, we agreed I wouldn't record the meeting. We didn't want to spook Roger. But Helen was keen for us to document Roger's comments about the specific locations of his suspected grave sites and the caravan, if we could. About an hour into the meeting, Roger started talking about the caravan and bushwalks. I asked him if it was okay to record. He agreed. What you'll hear next is audio from that part of the meeting. You'll hear Helen and Joe's voices from that day, but to protect Roger's identity, you won't hear his voice.
Yeah, it should be parked right there. Yeah, no, it's gone now. Yeah, well, we can see probably the mark where it was.
At this point, Roger is pointing at an aerial photo of the property. The black mark he's talking about is where he remembers last seeing the caravan.
So we thought where this dot here was, see here?
That's Helen. She's focused on another spot on the aerial photo. Roger's not sure.
That looks too close.
It looks too close?
But it looks right. It's definitely gone now.
As Helen and Roger continue looking through the images, Joe speaks up. He's noticed something in a separate spot on the property.
So just over to the left here, see there?
Oh,
this is the bit that stood out to me.
Helen sees it too.
There, that looks like a caravan, we said.
Certainly does.
But we can't work out the location exactly.
And we can't get a better photo of it, but we only just noticed that.
Roger isn't sure. The photo he's looking at is zoomed in, tight. Helen shows him a separate image.
When you look at this photo, you can see that it's got the window, and it looks like that.
She shows Roger both images side by side.
See?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's it. But that looks very narrow from that point to that point. But it's hard to say. Does it look like a caravan or does it look too small, that on that screen?
That looks correct there. That could be just a little shed, but it does look like a caravan.
As Helen zooms out on the image, Roger notices something else.
That looks like the hut you live in.
Yeah.
That looks like the fire hut. Ah, so I know where that is now. Okay, go back to your other photo.
After looking at both images, Roger is able to pinpoint the locations of the structure. We can't be sure whether it is a caravan, and more importantly, if it is, if it's the same one he says contained those baby shower items. During the meeting, Roger also recognised a familiar area of bushland, where there were 2 forked trees and disturbed earth the size of 2 graves.
There's a hut, so go back to that picture. I can point now where I was walking. I believe I found something before I knew these things were something. But when I was walking this there, where I thought I found the trees that were like forked trees.
From looking at the aerial photos, Roger was able to pinpoint the site. Helen has passed on all the information from the meeting with Roger to New South Wales Police. Detectives from the Unsolved Homicide Squad contacted her. They travelled to her local police station to meet with her.
When Helen gave the detective the information, he didn't even take a statement, which to me was surprising. All he did was got his notebook, scribbled down a few notes, said, we'll pass it up the chain. That's it, again. So they go so far with assistance, and then that's it. It vanishes again. It's like a cloud in the sky that just disappears. Gone.
Joe is at a loss. He says these new leads need to be investigated before it's too late.
This intel isn't just like hearsay intel. This is credible intel that needs to be looked at, but the police still haven't acted.
Helen hoped Roger's information would be a turning point, that detectives would jump into action and search the property, or at least visit Roger to get a statement. None of these things have been done. Instead, police have simply told Helen that this information has been passed up the chain.
I think they want us to go away. It's easier for them if we go away.
Going away was the last thing Helen planned to do. Which brings me to October 2024, when Helen decided it was time to press on with this podcast investigation. She agonised over the decision. Throughout all the years searching for her sister, Helen has understood the importance of police and procedure. She doesn't want her own search for answers to interfere or stymie official police investigations. But it's been 45 years and she's tired of feeling fobbed off. As with any long-term missing person case, time is of the essence. People's memories fade, those with information become ill and even die without sharing what they know. Helen and her family are tired of waiting for answers. Also in October 2024, Helen, Wendy, Joe and members of their immediate family gathered in Sydney for a peaceful protest outside New South Wales Parliament House.
Nobody cares, no investigations, no rewards.
They gathered at Macquarie Street, a busy stretch of road where buses and cars stream past, and office workers and politicians jostle for space on the footpath to demand attention and action.
Please help our girls. We're so desperate. Can you imagine one of your loved ones being gone for 44 years without any answers?
The voice you heard asking for help just now was Annie's. You met her in a previous episode.
The grief never stops. We need action and we need it now. It's just way too long. There's other cases of teenagers or young children going missing. They're high-profile cases. Why aren't ours? We really, really need recognition and we need it now.
Annie was Kerry's best friend, but she was there representing both girls. They each held placards and called for urgent police action in Elaine and Kerry's case. As the morning rush of politicians passed, some stopped, wanting to hear more. MP and member of the New South Wales Legislative Council, Jeremy Buckingham, was one of them. Just days earlier, he had called for an inquiry into more than 60 unsolved homicides and disappearances of women along the New South Wales North Coast. He has also called for the details on 29 New South Wales police strike forces, including Task Force Fenwick. You'll remember hearing about Task Force Fenwick in a previous episode. Here, he is speaking with Helen on a bustling Macquarie Street.
It's remarkable you're here today because in Parliament today I'm going to be doing what's called a call for papers, demanding all the papers regarding a whole heap of police strike forces that were looking at cold cases.
As mentioned, Jeremy led a call for an inquiry into the cold cases along the New South Wales North Coast, including in the 1980s when Elaine and Kerry disappeared. I asked him if he'd consider extending the inquiry to include the girls.
Of course, there's no problem at all. I'm aware of Elaine and Kerry's story, and I'm just getting overwhelmed with the numbers.
That overwhelming number Jeremy's referring to is 67 women who were killed or went missing between 1977 and 2009 on the New South Wales North Coast.
I met with the Deputy Police Commissioner yesterday and the Police Minister and said, what are you going to do about it? And they said nothing. Oh. They said, we're already doing it. We've got the Unsolved Homicide Unit, we've got the missing persons unit, and that's that. And our practices are a whole heap better. And I said, but will you review these cases?
Helen understands these layers of bureaucracy and red tape all too well.
But if you look at the unsolved homicide standards, their standards say when a case goes directly from the coroner to the unsolved homicides department, that they leave them benched for 5 years waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen if you don't investigate? Now, with Elaine and Kerry's case, I do displays which I'd been going around New South Wales with everybody from New South Wales on those displays. And each time I'd done a display, which was normally the long weekend in June, intel was given.
Now, Jeremy has no association with Elaine and Kerry's case, but he did agree more needed to be done by police to help families of long-term missing persons.
They're basically passively hoping that just something falls out of the sky rather than getting out and going to those communities and saying, who knows what. So I've been pushing for an up in those rewards because that works.
Elaine's family are familiar with using financial rewards to drive breakthroughs in a long-term missing persons case. They've been seeking a reward for Elaine and Kerry for years. In 2021, they wrote to the then New South Wales Police Commissioner, Michael Fuller, to ask that one be offered. That request was declined, and the family was told Elaine's case was under extensive review. Despite repeatedly chasing the results of this so-called extensive review, they've never received any documentation. In December 2024, Joe again requested a reward be offered. Again, the request was denied. The New South Wales Minister for Police and Counter-Terrorism, Yasmin Catley, has offered little to the family except for her sympathies. Here's an excerpt of a letter Elaine's family received from the Minister. I am advised that following 2 inquests by the New South Wales State Coroner's Court, this matter was referred to the New South Wales Police Force State Crime Command for ongoing investigation as part of Strike Force Derrington. While I appreciate Mr. Cooper's distress, I am advised that the offer of a reward via a campaign is not a viable option at this time due to the limited information known about Ms. Johnson and Ms. Joel's movements prior to their disappearance. I understand that New South Wales Unsolved Homicide Team representatives recently met with the family of Miss Johnson and were provided with further information which is currently under review by police. Please be assured that the Unsolved Homicide Team is a highly experienced, skilled and dedicated team who investigate all historical cases with great compassion, diligence and professionalism to provide closure to family and friends of the victim and bring perpetrators to justice. Elaine's family haven't given up on their hopes of being granted a financial reward. They believe it would help move the investigation on and also encourage members of the general public to come forward. Annie agrees.
People are getting older now. Back then there wasn't super. There's only a pension.
She also urged anyone listening who has information about the girls to come forward.
They can ring Crime Stoppers. I've run Crime Stoppers with information.
The gathering outside New South Wales Parliament House did raise further awareness of Elaine and Kerry's case. After chatting with Helen that day, Minister Buckingham mentioned the girls in his address to Parliament. As for his request for papers from New South Wales Police strike forces, including Task Force Fenwick, he said he received them in November 2024. He said he called for the details on 29 New South Wales Police strike forces, including Task Force Fenwick. A copy of the documents shows 10 names under Task Force Fenwick. Neither Elaine or Kerry's names are on that list. There has, however, been movement on Minister Buckingham's push for an inquiry. On October 15, 2025, the New South Wales Parliament agreed to the inquiry into unsolved murders and long-term missing persons cases in New South Wales between 1965 and 2010. A 7-member committee, chaired by Minister Buckingham, is due to report its findings by June 30, 2026. As for the status of Elaine and Kerry's case, I've contacted New South Wales Police for an update on its investigation into the girls' case. This was the reply. Investigations into the disappearance of Elaine Johnson and Kerry Ann Joel are continuing. Elaine, aged 17, was last seen on the 1st of February 1980, leaving her home in Kurnell to meet up with friend Kerry Ann Joel. Despite extensive investigations, neither of the teenagers have been seen or heard from since. In August 2016, following a coronial inquest, their case was referred to the State Crime Command's Unsolved Homicide Unit for review. Anyone with information that may assist investigators is urged to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. It's not just Parliament that acknowledged the girls. A number of media outlets also ran stories on the new evidence. Elaine Johnson's family call for action on potential new lead after 44 years. New intel blows Shire cold case wide open. Family appeals for reward in 44-year-old case of missing teenage girls. The news also reached Elaine's birthplace in England. Helen contacted the UK media in an attempt to create greater awareness of her story. Witnesses come forward with new evidence after disappearance of British teen 44 years ago. And new clue on teens missing since 1980. Elaine's family haven't given up yet, and Joe says there's no plan to.
It's always in the back of your mind, ticking over. We need to follow this lead, we need to do this, we need to do that. And we still keep going. We're not going to stop. We can't just walk away and let the police win and let all the criminals win, because that's just not right. We got to keep looking. We just have to keep looking.
If you or someone you know knows anything about Elaine and Kerry, the family urges you to come forward. They are eager to hear from anyone willing to discuss the girls or the property. They believe the intel they received after the girls' disappearance may very well be linked to the property. Like Helen, Elaine's sister Wendy wants answers.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
She dreams of a day when they finally have answers. But until then, they will never stop searching for Elaine. For now, this is the final episode of Out from the Cold, Searching for Elaine. Our small but mighty team will keep you updated if and when new details come to light. For now, thank you for listening. Searching for Elaine is a series from Out from the Cold, part of Happy Tuesday Productions. A special thanks to Helen and Wendy and the extended Johnson Cooper family for their time and trust. Thanks also to the Joel family, Elaine and Kerry's friends, and anyone who helped with information about the girls. It all counts. If you have information about Elaine Johnson or Kerry Ann Joel, you can get in touch at Help Find Elaine Johnson on social media or contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. This episode was produced by me, Kate Kachor, and Sally Spicer. Editing by Dan McHugh and Matt Haywood. Artwork by Nic Watts.
There's a hole in my heart the size of an island. There's a hole in my heart the size of an island. Islands can be big and small. My love for you will never go away. My love for you will never go away.